This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Thanks everybody for downloading the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me as always, I'm looking forward to a great conversation about the Tigers, Red Wings, and Lions, is my guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? I know that we have a lot to get to, but it's crazy when people start to reflect on how bad the Detroit sports teams have actually been. And I started to recall, the early times of the podcast with the Tigers when we would talk about series against Baltimore, Boston back in 2013, right there in October when we were in the first 25 shows of this podcast. But then since like 2015 and 16, it's been a complete nightmare in regards to Detroit sports, in regards to no playoff wins. It's a lot of talk about rebuilds. It's a lot of talk about general managers and talk about letting go of general managers, head coaches, and things that aren't going right. And now I guess we have to turn our attention to the general manager of the Detroit Tigers. And I just can't help but be utterly disappointed at the start of this year for the Tigers. It does pain me. I know people think, well, you joke around and you post all the photos of nobody at Comerica Park. It's hurtful to see a team that had a little bit of expectation, nothing serious, just play 500 ball. But the Detroit Tigers, can't hit the baseball. And when you look up and down the roster and you see a lot of players batting sub 225, and your star player in Spencer Torkelson, number one pick, can't hit the baseball, it is very disheartening, and it's really sad because I had really thought this team could win anywhere between 82 and 90 games this year. But, wow, what a disastrous start for the Tigers, and I think we're going to start to have serious conversations about potentially, if it doesn't turn around, Al Avila could be, quite frankly, on the hot seat here. It is so disappointing, this start for the Detroit Tigers. As we're recording this, the Tigers are only 2 games better than the Cincinnati Reds. And the Reds are disastrously awful. I can't believe on this day that we're recording, as the Tigers are battling the Oakland A's, that they're currently down in the series 1-2. It is completely a disaster right now in my mind for the Tigers.
It's been absolutely horrible. And this was a team that both of us were extremely high on going into the season. Like, I don't know, maybe we just overestimated what this team actually was, or maybe how far along this rebuild was. I think that might be the bigger issue here, is after what we got last year, and after what we got towards the end of the season last year, I think we all really bought into this team, and we all had high expectations going into this year. And it's just not panning out. The bats have gone absolutely dead. They're completely quiet. You can't win series that you should be winning or that we expect you to win. And it's been absolutely disastrous. You brought up is maybe Al Avila will be on the hot seat. And I think Al Avila should already be on the hot seat. A lot of this is Al Avila's fault. If you look at the way this team is put together, it's all because of Al Avila. Now, a lot of questions, and I guess maybe the next ire of the fans can maybe look at the manager, AJ Hinch, and is AJ Hinch and Al Avila, are they connected at the hip? Now, AJ Hinch has an opt-out at the end of this year, so if Al Avila goes away, does AJ Hinch go away? And I think if there was one person between the two that we all would want to keep, it would be AJ Hinch. AJ Hinch seems like a really good manager, if not top 3 in Major League Baseball, but to have this season start out this way, it's really disheartening and it's really upsetting. And I think if you have to blame somebody, if you really have to blame somebody, you probably have to blame Al Avila for this mess. I think it all lays at his feet because you've seen what AJ Hinch was able to do with this team last year. And the way this season is shaping up, This season will probably be worse than last year, but it's going to probably end the same way last year's ended, where this team gets remarkably hot, and we're all like, oh yeah, look at what this manager can do. He can do some things with some less than talent. Now, I'll say this. I think the defense is remarkably better. I think Javi Baez being inserted into the middle of this defense has made it so much better. I think Tarek Skubal has taken a massive step forward, but you still don't have a lot of pieces that you can really work with on this team, and I think that's where things are kind of falling flat and where this team is basically bumping its face into a wall. And when you look at that, I think it all goes back to the top, and I think it all goes back to the general manager, and I think it all lays at the feet of Al Avila. I think he's the one who, if you're going to really be upset about how this team is performing and what this team is doing, I think it's Al Avila. Now, I know he can't go hit the baseball, but he sure as hell can buy the guys and pay for the guys who can hit the baseball, and those guys aren't doing their job. Am I out of line thinking that it's Al Avila's fault?
Because you know what's been utterly brutal is the fact that once the team started losing series after series, you know what we started to get? We started to get a recap of what the Tigers actually got for Justin Verlander, what they got for J.D. Martinez. Do you know how many players are in the major leagues from the combination of those trades that you made for key talent, along with Justin Wilson and his son Alex Avila? Well, let me tell you, it is one single major league talent that is available for this Detroit Tigers team, from trading future Hall of Famers Justin Verlander, a big bopper in J.D. Martinez. I mean, you let Nick Castellanos go and you get barely nothing in return. And you recognize that this is a major problem in a rebuild when we have to revisit that this team could have been set up for ages if the talent would have been successful. I mean, you look at it and you say, how disheartening is it that the two best players are Javi Baez and Austin Meadows, and they're not guys that were homegrown. Literally, Spencer Torkelson can't hit the baseball. Literally, Casey Mize is on the shelf. And it is very disheartening when you're struggling to compete to score runs against the Oakland A's. And you know what the Oakland A's are? They're just a team that says, oh, we got to pay someone, bye. They are openly not competing. They've been trying their absolute best to be financially, fiscally responsible for the last decade. They aren't spending, and yet they potentially, you could argue, over the last 3 years have had more success than you have. So to see that has been horrible. No, you're not out of line. Al Avila is squarely at the foot of the blame here, and it's disappointing because on Wednesday, I don't know if you paid attention, Al Avila, AJ Hinch, Miguel Cabrera, and a couple other Tigers go down to the Detroit Economic Club and start spewing some bullshit about the rest of Major League Baseball. It would kill for the pitching staff. Are you really trying to spin some bullshit to these fans in Detroit that you're – okay, great. Congratulations. You're going to now lose games 2-0. Congratulations.
Dude, you had a guy who was called up from the minors the other day, just go 7 innings on your ass, and you didn't drive in 1 run. Like, what are you talking about? Come on, zip your lip.
Exactly. Don't try and spin this to this fan base because they've already turned you off. I mean, there's nobody that goes down to Comerica. It's beautiful weather, prime time to go, and a doubleheader barely drew probably more than the soccer team DCFC did at Keyworth down in Hamtramck. So I look at it and I say, what an utter failure.
You know what? That is a great comparison. That really is a great comparison. If you had to go spend your dollars, right? You had to go spend your hard-earned dollars, and I know you work your ass off. You have to go spend your money on an evening to take in a sports team in the Metro Detroit area. Where are you going to spend it? Because I'm not spending it on the Detroit Tigers. I would much rather go see a DCFC game.
Absolutely. It was wild. I've been there just once. And oh my goodness, and I'm a soccer fan, so I know what it's like to go and partake in that. And there's always, you know, things that go on in regards to language and stuff like that. But yeah, the vibe was 7,000 people cheering. I mean, it was great. It was a perfect scenario. DCFC was playing in the U.S. Open Cup, and they took on an MLS team in the middle of the week. It was a little bit cold early in late April. It was around a 7:30 start. and it was a little chilly, but it was organized by the supporters there, the Northern Guard, and they had you up on your feet the entire 90 minutes, and you were chanting, screaming, cussing, and really it was, I honestly, it was better than any baseball game that I've taken in for the last 3 years, and I've taken a lot of them being part of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Yeah, it's great here and there, great home runs, milestones, but for 90 minutes, it was full on action. Yeah, absolutely. And for the price, $12, today, Thursday, hey, thank, DocNJock. If you go down to Keyworth and you have a year one DCFC scarf, your ticket's free. They're celebrating their 10-year anniversary. And if you don't have one, ticket's $5. I mean, literally, you get to watch 90 minutes, 2 hours of soccer action on a team that's really come up through the ranks and is really generating a lot of buzz. So, honestly, that's a no-brainer. Right now, the better entertainment, it's 2 hours. Done. You know it. 7:30, unless, in a tournament setting, it might go to penalty kicks. But you know you're going to experience 2 hours of action, 45 minutes at a time, constant flow. If you're a fan of soccer, DCFC is an amazing value, way more than a baseball team that can't hit the baseball. I mean, baseball, cause you remember, chicks dig the long ball. That was a major campaign marketed, and this baseball team cannot hit a home run. They cannot hit consistently. Runners left on base. Before we recorded, to let you guys in, we always talk about, okay, what time are we going to start, kind of prepping for when we're going to get the equipment ready and all that stuff. So Adam and I talk. And as I was walking, from the backyard, tidying up from the kids and getting ready to record, I said to myself, man, I feel bad for those that have to cover the Tigers or that do those reaction videos for the Tigers 162 times. I'm like, you know what? I was thanking the good Lord to cover the Lions, and I know people will say, what? But the football season goes from September till January, but the rest of the time is so rewarding because I get to play GM for the other 8 months of the year. And you guys absolutely love playing GM and reading along with the 100 or so names I've put out there that the Lions should acquire. And then you guys absolutely devour the draft. And to let you guys in, you guys consume more readership from January until August than you do the season. You guys love and absorb everything about the draft, free agency, the schedule, rumors. You guys love that. And the game kind of starts to feel like an afterthought, the season nonetheless. And then you look at it and you got those that have to watch the Detroit Tigers, cause it is horrible. Can you imagine watching 3.5 hours every night as they go up there and strike out, leave runners on base? But we have to talk about it. In regards to A.J. Hinch, were you concerned at all that he kind of, when he went back to Houston, because I felt like maybe I was being a little bit oversensitive, or maybe reading into it too much, but him going out there and being like, oh, I miss Houston, I miss home, I miss all the things that were unknown to me from my time in my hometown of Houston. I was like, bro, you're in Detroit. Enough of that shit. Cut that shit. Cut the tie, bro. You're here in Detroit. And Detroit gave you a chance when you were overseeing a baseball team that was banging on trash cans and doing some nefarious things to get an edge. Now, you were exonerated. You weren't the one orchestrating it all, but you've taken blame for being at the head of the team that was doing it. It wasn't your fault, but you're still the leader. The sword falls on you. You were also suspended for a year. So spare me the I miss Houston nonsense. You're in Detroit. Get this shit together and figure out how to get this team to be able to take a ball from third base and throw it to first base without 6 hops and causing so many errors. I mean, literally, I think the low point of this rebuild for me was when the catcher threw the ball past third base and just utterly let, I think, Kansas City score 2 runs, or Minnesota, one of those two teams, and you let them score 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and the game was over. That was the lowest point because of all the defensive errors. So while we're giving a lot of blame to Al Avila, A.J. Hinch deserves some blames. Where is the mastermind? Where's the analytical advancements? Where's something different? Where's, at least when you're getting your ass kicked week after week, come out and say this shit is unacceptable. Where's AJ Hinch in this process? I think that, potentially speaking, he's playing the waiting game, and you don't get to take a month off of the year. Unfortunately, every team starts in April, and when you're now 15 games under 500 and you're 10 games out of first, you are fucked. So AJ Hinch deserves some blame too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He does. But again, I think there is more of him just trying to work with what he's got. I mean, you brought up Spencer Torkelson, and Torkelson is getting sent back down to Toledo, isn't he? Torkelson, or at least there's talk of possibly sending Torkelson back down to Toledo. And he's the leading guy on your team with home runs.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like put that into perspective. This guy is struggling at the plate. He is a rookie, and he is leading your team in home runs right now. Like, where's everybody else? Where's Miguel Cabrera? He's your $30 million man. Where is he? Austin Meadows, everybody championed Austin Meadows because he's supposed to have power from the left side of the plate. Where's he been? Where's Javi Baez? He was your big off-season signing. He was supposed to be able to stroke it. He was supposed to be able to hit home runs. Where is it? It's a rookie who is your leading home run getter right now. He's the guy who is driving in runs for you. Like, what are we talking about here? And I think a lot of this falls on Al Avila. I think AJ Hinch can only do so much with a broken deck of cards, you know? It would be like if we were over at your house and we were playing a Texas Hold'em tournament, right? And you're like, hey guys, I've got all the chips and I've got all that stuff set up, but my deck of cards only has 43 cards in it. Be like, what? Like, we're missing 10 cards? Be like, yeah, we'll make it work. It'll be cool. Like, no, we won't. Like, it's not gonna work. It just, like, the game's just not gonna flow the way it's supposed to flow. And I think that's kind of where AJ Hinch is. He's put in this spot where he's basically operating with one hand tied behind his back because, let's be honest here. You brought it up. There is one player in Major League Baseball right now from the mass exodus and the gutting of this team. And Al Avila was the guy who was like, no, give me that guy. Give me that guy. I'll take that guy. We'll add him to our roster. We'll put him in our minor league system. We'll bring him up. It's time for these guys to get brought up, and there's nobody there. None of those guys are paying dividends. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you look at who are the prominent players on this Detroit Tigers team right now, it's a rookie in Spencer Torkelson. It's a free agent signing that you had to go out and you had to make in Austin Meadows. It's a guy in Jonathan Scope who you took a chance on. You gave him an earn it deal. He earned it. You ended up signing him to an extension. That's it. You know, Candelario has had a couple of games where he shined, but other than that, man, that's what we're talking about right now. Ugh. We're talking about a rookie who you would have had to have been blind or not been paying attention to miss on. Like, everybody knew Spencer Torkelson was supposed to be that deal. So you don't get credit for making that pick. That's a pick that you and I could have made. You and I could have made that while we were half drunk, half in the bag, and we only watched a quarter of the baseball season. So you don't get credit for that pick. I'm sorry, you just don't. Everybody else on this roster, they're like pylons. There's nothing there. And that's on Al Avila, man. I think AJ Hinch, you can put a little bit of the blame on him, all right? But I think AJ Hinch has done a really good job of being out in front of this. He's taken the blows. He's the guy who stands in front of the media every day, answers the questions, and basically tells them, look, we're gonna get better. We're gonna get better. They're not getting better. They're at this point, they're just not getting better. Yeah. All right. And I think this season, and look, it's very early, but I think this season is already a wash. I think we had some hope that this team was going to be in contention as the season wound down. I don't think that's going to happen for this team. And I don't think this team is anywhere close with competing with this awful division. And I think that's the hardest part. This division is absolutely wretched, and they're at the very bottom of it.
And cause, as we're recording this, Joey Wentz is making his major league debut and already down 3-0 in the second or third inning for the Tigers. So you're about to potentially lose 3 or 4 to the Oakland Athletics. I can't.
Who's like the worst team in baseball right now?
I can't. This is so embarrassingly bad. This is such a disaster at the highest level. I can't foreshadow where collectively everybody peaked in 2021. Everybody. Jonathan Scope, Akil Baddoo sent down to the minors. Spencer Torkelson can't hit. Riley Green gets hurt. Casey Mize gets hurt. Unbelievable. And I'll say this. I'll rate AJ Hinch, his complaining to the official, to the umpire against the A's as like a 1 out of 10. I mean, you needed to have some theatrics there. You needed some foot stomps. You needed some finger pointing. Kick some dirt. I mean, come on. Come on. Where's the life of this team? I think you and I have more passion than what's going on with this Tiger team. I don't know. Something's up. Maybe have to dig a little deeper to figure out what the heck is going on with these Tigers, because it's really sad this start. Because you get that win, you get that, I believe, 6-0 win, and then the second game of a doubleheader you get shut out. Like how does that happen? Yeah. It's the same game. It's the same day. How is this possible? How is this feasible that the team is this bad? I just hope, that Chris Ilitch pays attention to the fact that his ballpark is empty and does something regarding this Detroit Tigers team. Now, we're going to switch gears and talk about the Red Wings and the Lions to finish out the podcast, but potentially, cause I'm excited. Something that could fall into the Detroit Red Wings lap is not a draft pick. For some reason, if the Red Wings have the 8th best odds, they're getting the 8th pick. If they get the 6th best odds, they're getting the 6th pick. My God, the Wings have no draft lottery luck, so they're going to have to continue to rely on Steve Yzerman to get shit done. But could a saving grace have just fallen into their lap for some crazy reason? The Islanders, who did not make the playoffs this year, and the playoffs have been good in regards to Toronto, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, faltering as usual. Good shit going on in regards to hockey and the playoffs. Now, nobody is going to be praising the ESPN commentary, so what I do is just turn that shit down and just kind of have it on in the background and then check the reports later, because ESPN Plus and it seems like they're going cheap on the broadcasters there. In regards to the Red Wings getting back to the playoffs, is the saving grace for the former captain of the Red Wings, Steve Yzerman, is it Barry Trotz? And the funny thing is, if you go back and look at our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, I think back in 2018, Trotz was available, and I was like, go get him. Go get Barry Trotz. Fire Jeff Blashill. And now Barry Trotz, who's a hard ass, who has really quality defensive numbers. But, yeah, his Islander team maybe underachieved. But the man hoisted a cup with Washington. Could he be on the radar for the Red Wings, or is he just a big name, a recycled old coach that just bounces around? What are your thoughts on Barry Trotz? Because it seems like everybody likes that name, but I'm not sure if he qualifies to be on the list of being in Steve Yzerman's inner circle.
Look, if I'm Steve Yzerman, Barry Trotz is walking to his car after being fired by the New York Islanders, and he's got a box in one hand with all of his stuff. He's got car keys in the other, and all of a sudden his cell phone starts ringing, and he starts juggling everything trying to answer the phone. And I'm like, hey, Barry, there's a plane ticket for you. You're coming to Detroit. I want to talk to you.
Yep.
He would be the first call I would make. Look, this is the guy that would represent everything Steve Yzerman has said that he wants in a coach. He wants a guy who keeps players accountable. Check. He wants this team to get better in their defensive zone and defensively breaking out of their zone. Check. He wants a guy who has a little bit of experience and has been there, done that. Check and check. He's been in Nashville. He helped take Nashville from a perennial loser to a team that would make the playoffs. All right? So he's been there, done that. He's then went to Washington and took another perennial loser and helped them win a Stanley Cup. Check and check. Also, this guy has the ability to handle big egos and big personalities. He did it with Ovechkin. And then he went to New York, which is one of the larger, most harsh markets to try to coach in and do things in. And he took this team. They had an excellent breakout year, his very first season there. All right? And then it's been a little bit of hit or miss here or there. And I think that was because a lot of the talent from that first year got flipped. A lot of things happened, and they weren't able to rekindle that magic. If you bring him in and you take what he wants into consideration, of course, this is Steve Yzerman's team. Steve Yzerman is going to do what Steve Yzerman has to do. But this is the guy who can flip this organization around, help get them back into playoff contention. He has a great hockey mind. He's a guy who will put the defense in a really good spot, and he will allow the offense to play offense. This team will score goals. On top of it, he looks amazing in his suits. His suits look like he looks awesome. Looks like a giant cardboard box with a round head. He's amazing. Looks like freaking the Kingpin if you're a Marvel superhero fan. If you like reading comic books, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's the guy.
He's the guy. He is the guy.
How disappointed would you be if he's not the next Detroit Red Wings coach?
Let me put it to you like this, because I do believe in Steve Yzerman and I do believe in his vision. If Barry Trotz is out there and you're going to go hire a guy and it's not Barry Trotz, there has to be a reason you're making that hire. There has to be a reason that you're passing on Barry Trotz. So I would then look at that next hire with a little bit of a concerning eye, like, okay, why this guy and why not Barry Trotz, when I think we all hands down feel like he is the guy. And then I would say, okay, I'm going to give it 2 years. Let's see what this guy can do. And I better see some progression within those first 2 years. And again, this is all based on Steve Yzerman. This is all based on Steve Yzerman going out and basically hiring John Cooper. And it is all based on what we have seen to this point. I think we're all pretty frustrated by what we're getting out of the Detroit Red Wings. But you can't tell me the guys that Steve Yzerman has drafted and guys that we vocally called out, like Mo Seider, why are you taking this German kid? Germany doesn't even have a good hockey team. What are you doing? Bringing Mo Seider, and this guy is now in contention for Rookie of the Year. So this is all based on what Steve Yzerman has been able to do and starting to see his vision actually play out. So if it's not Barry Trotz, I'll give the guy a chance, but he better perform in those first 2 years is all I got to say.
Okay. It has to happen. I think it has to be something that is seriously considered because he checks all the boxes in regards to
totally checks all the
experience, boxes. Could be the hard ass that could get these guys to play some defense, could be somebody that could have immediate success with young talent, and could instill a system that I think has the opportunity to really handle some business. So we'll take a look, and I can't wait to see how this progresses. Please make the call. Please make this worthwhile. I think it would create the buzz needed that would potentially get the Red Wings back on track, because it is absolutely, something that you look at and you say, gosh, you got to bring some spark back to the Detroit Red Wings, and I think Barry Trotz could be that person. So we'll see how it all plays out in regards to the Red Wings and the next head coach. Now, speaking of head coaches, we're going to finish off this week's podcast with you degenerate gamblers, you crazy fucks. You guys are out there pumping money into these sports books, believing that at the end of the 2022 season, Dan Campbell is going to be the coach of the year, which indicates confidence, which indicates a lot of respect for what he can do in his second year. The over-under in a lot of sports books is about 5.5, 6 wins. You can find different odds in regards to that. So, you could see a scenario in which Dan Campbell does have success. But, a lot of these odds, you see Dan Campbell getting some action and things like that. So the previous winners have been coaches that have pretty much gotten over 10 wins. I mean, let's look. The winners over the last 5 years. Last year was Mike Vrabel, 12-5, Kevin Stefanski, 11-5, John Harbaugh, 14-2, Matt Nagy, 12-4, and Sean McVay, 11-5. So if Dan Campbell wins it at 7-10, I think that would almost be kind of a slap in the face to the Lions, because they would be like, oh my God, Dan Campbell got 7 wins with that organization? Coach of the year. I don't see it happening. I see the team playing well, but as the dust settles, you got to pay attention to things. You can't just hope that everything falls into place, because look at the hope meter that has to happen. Mm-hmm. Jared Goff has to stay healthy. The O-line has to stay completely healthy. Chark, Jameson Williams, the tight end, all the players, Jeff Okudah, Jerry Jacobs, all the players battling injury, Romeo Quara, they all got to come back, be productive, stay healthy, and 3-4 of your rookies have to come in and make an impact. That's just, for me, a lot of hoping. But the schedule, if you look at SIL Lions, it's the 5th easiest, so there's a plus there. I see improvement with this Detroit Lions team. I see hope. I see reason to believe that this is not a bottom-dwelling NFL football team. But I'm seeing right now, today, the beautiful schedule release at 8 p.m., when I look at it and everybody does the win-loss game, and we'll do that next week on the podcast for sure, I see 6-7 wins. I see that being the ceiling. So that's not good enough to get Coach of the Year in my book. So I think it's going to end up being a futile bet. It's cute, but it's not happening. Dan Campbell is not winning the Coach of the Year in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, what all has to happen for that to actually take place and be legitimate? Mind you, there's only been one other coach in the history of this award that has won it and has not had playoff success or has not won a Super Bowl, and that was Jimmy Johnson when he took over the Cowboys when they were 1-15. So this team is nowhere near 1-15 right now, or 1-16 as it would be. But what would have to happen for that to take place? And you're right, Jared Goff would have to basically put up career numbers and play out of his mind. You would have to have a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown basically breaking receiving records, and DJ Shark putting up his career best numbers. And I just don't think those things are going to happen. On top of that, you would need DeAndre Swift to be able to prove that he could stay healthy for an entire regular season, and that hasn't happened yet. You would need to avoid the injury bug along your offensive line, and you would have to have probably an offensive lineman win the Offensive Lineman of the Year award. Defensively, you would have to have Aiden Hutchinson basically win Rookie of the Year and play out of his mind. He would somehow have to manage 9 sacks this season. I don't see that happening. You would have to have found a stud linebacker in this draft, or you would have to have found a stud linebacker somewhere on your roster. I've checked under every rock. I've lifted up every shoebox lid. I have looked in the back of every trunk. I've not found one impactful linebacker on this roster as of yet. So when I do, I'll let you know. As far as the secondary goes, if Jeff Okudah comes back and gives you anything remotely close, I think that'll be a win, but it's going to take a whole lot more than Jeff Okudah. Remember, your secondary gets decimated all season long. If there's ever a place where you just draft guys to have guys just on standby, it is in your secondary. It is in that corner position, and it is with your safeties. You just draft guys and have them on a shelf, and you break that glass in case of emergency, and you throw them in there. So you're going to need some health for that secondary. I just don't see it happening. There's too much that would have to go right. If you just look at this division alone, right? Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. And until Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, I feel Aaron Rodgers will figure out a way to win. By hook, by crook, whatever. He signed a deal with the devil years ago, and it basically says I get to beat Detroit whenever I play them. And that's what is basically unfolded, okay? Aaron Rodgers, when he plays Detroit, doesn't always have his best game, but he usually does just enough to eke out a W, all right? You look at Chicago, I don't like the Bears. I think the Bears are probably the closest team to the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions and the Bears are both trash right now. I don't think the Lions are great. I don't think the Bears are great either. I think Minnesota is in between where the Lions and Green Bay are. They're that middle team. So you can't even win in your division. Like, you can't even get out of the way I've got it set up right now. They're in a dead tie for fourth with the Bears. So you can't win in your own division. If this team was to somehow manage to get up into second place and be competitive as the season went down the stretch, and they were in a position where they could win the NFC North, if that was an actual situation, if that was an actual case that could take place, then we might have this discussion. But as of right now, I don't see Dan Campbell having enough to be able to do that. Next season, I think we could talk about it. Next season, I think there's a good possibility that guy could possibly win Coach of the Year. But as of right now, I just don't see it happening. I don't know how it would happen.
Yeah, it's a stretch. So before we get out of here, how many primetime games do you think the Lions deserve to be on this year? Thursday night, Thanksgiving. How many times should they be on Monday Night Football? They're going to be on Hard Knocks. Dan Campbell and, the roid raging, Cajun, really excited ball coach that can never turn down a camera. How many times should the national television audience be exposed to the Detroit Lions? I say 2. Give us Thanksgiving and 2 more times. Maybe a Thursday night game and 1 Monday night game. Give the Lions 3 of 17 nationally televised games.
I would say 2. You get your Thanksgiving Day game, and then I think maybe they get a Sunday night football game. And I think that's it. I mean, I don't think Detroit's done enough. I think Dan Campbell is interesting. I think Dan Campbell's a lot of fun. But I don't think this team is good enough to really deserve getting multiple premium games. So I'm going to say 2 games.
Okay, 2.
You have the schedule in front of you? It's already come out, right? Or no, not yet? No, it comes out
Thursday. Today, 8 p.m. is the national holiday where they break it all down. But stay tuned to SIO Lions and at Detroit Podcast all throughout Thursday. I'm at home. It's a scheduled day, so we're going to have the rumors. I think potentially the Packers reporters are hustling, and they figured out it's potentially the Lions in Week 18, the finale again. So there's that. Potentially, it's going to be Miami or Buffalo on Thanksgiving. So we'll see in regards to the schedule. Stay tuned on Thursday as we break it all down, the schedule, when it comes out, all that good shit. We'll look into it, and then we'll have our full breakdown on Doc and Jock next week. So yeah, all good with the Lions, man. It's the off season this week. If you stay tuned, involves rookie minicamp, our first look at Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, probably not going to take part in too much stuff as he recovers, and you realize it's our first chance to look at these 7 other rookies and an opportunity to get to know them a little bit closer. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to SIO Lions. Stay tuned to Detroit Sports Podcast Network, and make sure you let us know what you're thinking and let us know. Look at that, cuz you can't even – this is crazy. This is literally crazy. As we were talking, as we were opining, okay, I tweeted you, inside scoop here, AJ Hinch, Detroit Tigers are uber talented, he tells the Detroit Economic Club, as they were trailing 4-0 to the A's. The second I push tweet, it comes back from the Motown Mojo. 6, as you tweet. Right now, it's 6-0. You're getting your ass kicked. Is terrible. We don't deserve this. This is ridiculous. 6-0 to the A's? Get the hell out of here. I'm telling you, something's wrong. Somebody did something to somebody's girlfriend. Something happened. There's some mojo here. This is not, something's wrong. Something is wrong here. This team is not this bad. They're like a 3-2. Look, they played competitively against Houston. They lost every game 3-2. They're not 6-0 bad.
It's weird. There's like a bit of a disconnect with this team, and I don't know.
Wrong.
You remember? So I think you brought it up. Was it last week? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. You brought it up where Jim Leland basically took this team by the throat when they basically had a getaway day.
Yeah.
And was like, no, this isn't happening ever again.
Ever again. He stood up there, he said, I will not tolerate this. The culture's going to change. He goes, I don't know what was going on before, but that won't happen here. You got to give these people a ball game. We don't have to win every game, but we're going to compete.
Maybe AJ Hinch has to have that. And maybe it's today. Maybe AJ Hinch throws a bit of a fit and just puts all these guys on notice. Like, hey, you figure it out because this isn't working.
Bus tickets! Doc and Jock need some bus tickets out of town. Ship Akil Badu's ass just out of town just for the hell of it. Get some compensatory pick for him. Get something. I mean, literally, it's all bad. It's all bad. And on the same day that the Tigers were trying to spew some bullshit, and I see videos of Johnny Kane cheering in the 9th inning as he's blowing smoke up the Tigers' ass, wondering why. Why are you guys saying I'm spinning things? Come on, bro. You're watching a shitty-ass team. Stop telling us this, man. You work for the team. Come on. You know.
Yeah, it is really like, you ever read 1984 by Orson Welles?
Yeah, Orson Welles, yeah.
So it really is like that when you watch Bally Sports. Oh. It is nothing but shine.
But they're partners. I get it, they're partners. Yeah. He doesn't work for the team.
I get it, but like, at some point, you're a reporter. You have to be critical.
Yes.
You have to call a spade a spade.
I hate that. It's the worst part of coverage is when, Joey Wentz throws a strike. Well, congratulations. Oh my God, Joey Wentz. He struck a guy out. This is indicative of what this guy can do in the future, and I really see a bright future for Joey Wentz. And he gives up another home run, and the Tigers are trailing 6-0. Oh, Joey Wentz has been pulled from the game. But his future looks bright. Back with you guys. It's like, come on. We don't buy that here in Detroit. Just spit the truth. And that's all we want. But, I mean, I get it. It's a paying gig. You get to root for your team. But that's part of the reason why people are pissed is, like, maybe there was a lot of cornbread being fed to the fans, and it wasn't a critical look. But I don't think too many fans were thinking World Series. They were just thinking be normal and be around 500.
Be competitive, yeah.
Just be normal.
Look, if this team ended up falling 5 games short of 500, you'd have been okay with that. Whether you realize it or not, you'd have been okay with it.
Just get into the 80s. That's all you had to do. Take a step, not 10 steps back. Just cause we are months away from this shit getting blown up again. Like literally blown up again in a span of another rebuild for this podcast network. That would be crazy. The 3rd Tigers rebuild. And it's crazy. And we'll just leave you with a tweet from Jason Beck as we get out of here. And he says, command and efficiency were part of the reason Tigers didn't call up Joey Wentz sooner. Both were part of his undoing tonight. He threw first pitch strikes to 1 of his first 7. He threw first pitch strikes to 1 of his final 7 batters before leaving with 73 pitches over 2 2/3 inning. He allowed 6 runs on 7 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. So you know what that earns, cuz? Live. This is the quote tweet. Al Avila. MLB is raving about Tigers pitching. Woo!
And here's the thing, Joey Wentz.
Tag him with my cousin. So, there you go. Make sure you follow my cousin at Adam RSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast, where we tell it like it is. Be sarcastic, be real, have fun with it. Rant and rave. This is our outlet. And thank you guys for letting us have it. You made me feel better because I wouldn't have been able to enjoy wrestling after this podcast had I not spewed a little bit about how awful these Detroit Tigers are. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in to Doc and Jock. It's the highlight of my week. Really, a couple hours a week I look forward to as I'm doing other things in the world of sports. Talking to Adam, messing around in Detroit sports, and having a laugh is something that I always treasure and look forward to. Cuz, let's talk next week, break down the schedule, and see if there's maybe major changes with the Wings and Tigers. Let's get the hell out of here. Done.